Hi there, this is Debbie Delbridge, author of Real Stories of Angels, Demons, and the Supernatural. And as the title suggests, I am going to be sharing the details of an experience I had where I had a boyfriend of 2 years that committed suicide. I have been sharing experiences I've had with demons, and there's actually a demon in there. And I will be sharing some experiences I've had with angels, and there is an angel story in this story. There is also going to talk about ghosts and familiar spirits. So the story is jam-packed with lots of information. If you know somebody that has lost somebody to suicide and they think that that means they can't go to heaven, or if they, if they were taught a doctrine that is not biblical, meaning people that commit suicide don't go to heaven, that is not correct, I would encourage you to share this video with them. It will be broken up into smaller sections on TikTok, but if you would like the whole story in one video, then I encourage you to visit my YouTube channel, Deborah Delbridge. Okay, so let me just give you a little bit of background information. I started dating Fred Anderson, in 2000, no, not 2000, in 91, and we dated for 2 years, and it was kind of on and off. And my best friend was also his best friend. We both had a best friend of Sharon. So Sharon was very involved in our lives, and I actually met him through her, obviously. So he was an incredible person. He was very charismatic in his personality. He was the life of the party. If he walked into a situation, everybody was his best friend. If somebody was feeling low or discouraged, he always brought light and love to them and brightened their day. He was just very much a really great person. And that's why it was such a shock to a lot of people that knew him, that they didn't know he had this whole other dark side. So when he had committed suicide, it really surprised them because they didn't know that he had this other side to him. He was manic depressive, where he would go through these cycles where he would be just wonderful for a few weeks, and then maybe the fourth week, I didn't time exactly what the time frame was, then he would get withdrawn and distant and indifferent. And it wasn't uncommon for him in those seasons of depression to pull away from people, and if he was dating you, to break up with you. In fact, he was divorced, and his first wife left him for that very reason. She couldn't handle the roller coaster of being in a relationship with him, of he would, things would be wonderful, and then he would break up and that kind of thing. And he had done that with me too, as he had with other relationships. He would, one time he broke up with me on New Year's Eve when I had this incredible evening planned. He just was too, he overthought a lot of stuff, and he just would battle discouragement. And at that time, I didn't know, very much. I had psychology, but I hadn't had any training in the spiritual side of depression. But anyway, what had happened was I had started to pull away from him, because it's hard to be in a relationship with somebody that it's always this roller coaster. And I tended to put a little bit of distance, emotional distance. I didn't want to allow myself to experience the emotional highs because I knew the lows were coming. And so, sorry about the camera. So, I put some distance, and I had told him, next time you break up with me, that's really it. So in January, he broke up with me, and so I went about my life. And of course, a couple weeks later, he tried to reconcile, and I couldn't, and I wouldn't. It was almost like I couldn't do that roller coaster anymore. When he wanted to get together to chat, I did, because I did know that he had suicidal tendencies, and I wanted to make sure he was okay in that front. And I did kind of tag team him over to Sharon to make sure that she keep an eye on him. But, he gave the illusion to everybody that he was fine. So even though he had talked suicidal in the past, nobody really thought that he would do it. They just thought, because a lot of more people are suicidal than the people that actually attempt it. And of the people that attempt it, it's a lot fewer that actually are successful at committing suicide. But I wanted to share this experience with you. One, because it does have angels and demons in it, and I'm going to be sharing. I have been doing a series about demons, and I will be sharing some of my angel stories. But also, there was I received new insight this week. Something I connected the dots on something that I didn't quite totally understand previously, and of course, this happened more than 30 years ago. Wait. 93, almost 30 years ago. So that was a long time. And I will be sharing some pictures at the end of this video, so you can see pictures of him and that kind of thing. So anyway, we were dating and he broke up with me. And then Sharon's husband, Daryl, during this 2-year period of time, he had become a born-again Christian, and he was watching TBN at that time, and he had given his life to God. So one morning he was walking out to his truck. He was a general contractor, so he got up early, walking out to his truck, and then an angel just appeared to him, and he just kind of like fell against the hood of his truck, and the angel told him, Fred is dead, but he's with the Lord. And then Daryl just didn't quite know what to do with this information, so he called. Sharon and I worked at the same computer manufacturer. And so he called Sharon at work, and he said, and he was kind of fishing around for information because he didn't know if she knew yet, if his body had been discovered. If his body hadn't been discovered, he wanted to go over there and find the body. So, because he feels like he had a responsibility to do that, since, the angel told him that Fred was dead, but he's with the Lord. So, he had asked Sharon what his address was, but Fred had just moved, so she didn't know the exact street address. She knew the street name and the general area. So Daryl said, well, I'm going to come pick you up, and I just feel a sense of urgency that we need to go over to Fred's house. And so right after that phone call, Sharon called me. We worked at the same computer manufacturer, so she said, let's take a break. And at that time, both of us smoked cigarettes, so we went to the break room, and I said, well, I want to go too. And he says, no, Daryl doesn't want you to go. So I had some back-to-back meetings. I come out of the meetings and check my voicemail, and there was a voicemail from Daryl saying, call the house. And my heart just sank, and I knew. And then so I called the house, and then Sharon says, get over here. I walk into my boss's office, the director, and I said, I think my ex-boyfriend just committed suicide, and I'm pretty sure that's what happened. He said, take the rest of the week off. So anyway, I'm driving over to Sharon's house, and my legs were just trembling, and I'm crying out to God, no, don't let this be. Let me be wrong, and it was really, truly one of, if not the worst day of my entire life. And I pull up to the house, and the garage door is open, and the access door that leads to the kitchen was open as well. So I walk through the house, and Sharon is just slamming cabinets. She's slamming cabinets, and she's cussing, and it was just a terrible, terrible time. And then she told me what had happened with Daryl, and that was reassuring. It was just such a devastating time. And then everybody came over to the house, and everybody shared woulda, coulda, shoulda stories. Now, I have a whole chapter about this in the book, Real Stories of Angels, Demons, and the Supernatural, but I'm not going to go into all that information. I talk about the whys. There was 4 main reasons of why he felt like he had to end his life, and then also people's reaction. People have a blame game type of thing. They tend to blame others because they're deflecting, self-blame because they think that they could have done more, and that kind of thing. So I'm not going to go into all that now, but so the week was just a terrible week, of course, and 3 days later, like the next day, Sharon and I got a phone call from the coroner's office. And the coroner told us that Fred had left both Sharon and I manila envelopes. And inside those envelopes were some cards, mementos, those kinds of things. And he left us both the goodbye audio tape, a personalized message. And in my envelope, so that was released 3 days after, because of course the coroner has to investigate the situation to make sure that it wasn't a homicide. Because what had happened was Sharon and Daryl found the house because they saw his car. They knocked on the door, nobody answered. They went around, looked in the windows, and they saw Fred lying in a pool of his own blood. So they, of course, called 911, and they wouldn't let Sharon in the house, obviously, because they had to do their investigation. So so the coroner released this envelope to me, and it was mementos, cards, and that kind of thing from our relationship. There was a written out lyric to a Stephen Stills song that talks about embracing the multicolored beast. It's basically a song about suicide and demons. See, when Fred would talk to me about his demons, I had too much college psychology. I didn't think it was literal demons, but I do, because I have studied it out, because I do have a lot of now experience in this field. When it comes to homicide or suicide, people are battling demonic suggestion. There are demons that tell people to kill themselves. So there was that. But then on the audio tape, Fred basically gave the plan of salvation. He wasn't a Christian when I was dating him, and even though I was backslidden, I was raised in a good Christian home, a conservative Christian home, so I didn't know anything about angels and demons and supernatural things because that just wasn't taught or discussed. But I still preached Jesus to him. And so on the audio tape, he says, before I do this, I'm going to make my peace with God. I'm going to accept Jesus Christ in my heart. I believe that he died on the cross, rose the third day. So he basically gave the whole plan of salvation, because the Bible says, if you confess me before men, I will confess you before my Father. If you believe in your heart that Jesus Christ is the Son of God who came to redeem mankind, if you believe that, then you shall be saved. So I already had a knowing that he was in heaven even before I heard about the angel. And obviously, he gave it the plan of salvation, that he was going to accept Jesus Christ into his heart before he killed himself. And he said he will make peace with God, and he won't do this before he knows that he knows that he knows that he is right with God. So anyway, at his memorial service, there was like 400 people there. It was large. I don't remember the exact number. I think I wrote it down years ago, but it's been quite a while. But at his memorial service, his sister got up and basically blamed me for his death. See, his friends blamed his family, and his family blamed me because they figured, oh, he was heartbroken about the breakup with Debbie. It was one of the factors, but it wasn't the only factor. While I was dating him, he had remembered some repressed memories of some physical and sexual abuse by his father. There's just all kinds of things. So he didn't like his family. He hated his family, but there was just a lot of things he was dealing with. Won't go into much of the detail on that. But anyway, I wanted to share that story with you because what was interesting is a couple weeks after his memorial service, there were 2 times that his ghost, his presence came to me. One was I was driving on this highway, this highway by myself, and all of a sudden I just sensed his presence sitting in the car next to me. I even smelled his cologne, and it wasn't. And I had been taught that that ghosts don't exist, that there could be demons, but not ghosts. So I just relied on my theology. Well, that can't be right. So, and then there was another time I was in my bedroom and his presence was in my room, and it was like he was talking to me. He was making sure I was okay. He was very loving. I didn't see it physically. I just sensed his presence. So, because I know some people can, that have encounters with ghosts may see may actually see what they look like. But that wasn't the case. But it didn't seem evil to me. So I had to question my theology, because it's like, well, is this a ghost? Are there ghosts? Because this does not seem like an evil thing. And so what I told it, I said, if you are Fred, then go ahead and go on to heaven. I'll be okay. I'm fine. If you're a demon, go away in Jesus' name. And so I never had another appearance after that. And then a week or two later, I was talking to Sharon, and Sharon said that this presence had visited her as well, and was trying to develop a relationship. And you hear this, you hear people say, no, I talked to my dead grandmother and all these kinds of things. You have to recognize that even though it feels like them, it is a familiar spirit. It is a demonic entity, believe it or not. And the revelation that I had even this week, because when I first encountered that, I thought, well, my theology tells me that it's a masquerading spirit. It's a familiar spirit, but it didn't feel evil. But so maybe, is there a ghost? But then I remembered just a day or two ago, what did the angel say to Daryl? He said, Fred is dead, but he's with the Lord. Fred was with the Lord. Fred wasn't here on earth trying to right the wrongs and unfinished business. That was a masquerading spirit. And then if you've watched any of my other videos, there's that one video that I talk about my coworker where he had these energies appear on his face that transferred into the other person, and they exchanged entities, and each one looked like another human face. When it comes to a familiar spirit, that spirit, that demon can be in somebody for so long that it can masquerade as their personality and even their presence. And it is not them, because as that angel said, Fred is dead, but he's with the Lord. That entity can masquerade, and demonic entities don't die. So there could be people through the ages that have so many people that it has lived in. So anyway, I wanted to just give that little word of encouragement to you that, one, do not believe the Catholic doctrine that says if somebody commits suicide, that they go to hell. That is not true. When somebody is emotionally sick and spiritually sick, when they're heartbroken, God doesn't reject somebody because of they're sick. That is not true. That if somebody commits suicide, they go to hell. That's not true. For some people, it's God saying, okay, come on home. It's not God's perfect will, but it's his permissive will. And the second thing is, if you have a spirit of somebody that is visiting you, of somebody that has passed on, I hate to tell you, and this is firsthand experience that I've had as well. It feels like them, but it is a masquerading spirit, because their spirit, when somebody dies, they're either in heaven or in hell. So you need to tell that spirit to go away in Jesus' name, and then move on with your life. All right. Love you guys. More stories to come. Bye-bye.